Hey, we're playing with fun toys here. Charene Herrera, Patrick, Wind River Internet. We're here for tech tips, the techiest of tips with the techiest of guys, Patrick, and I'm pretty excited. As you can see, I was going to a world far, far away, virtual reality, and these are a couple of the toys with virtual reality, VR for short. And we're also going to talk about Metaverse, which if you're like me, I'm going to learn more along with you, and we're going to learn from Patrick. So Patrick, let's start off. We've got some fun toys here. We were just checking some of the VR, I guess you call these controllers.
Yeah. So this is an Oculus Quest 2, and it's a self-contained VR unit. So you don't have to hook it up to a computer. It's all just inside the headset. It's got cameras in it that can give you spatial awareness, so it'll know where you're at. And you can actually see through it, so like if you need to, you can, tap out of the virtual world and you can kind of see where you are. And it'll create a virtual boundary, so you'll know not to walk into a wall.
Oh, smart. I was curious about that. How do you not walk off of a cliff? How do you not hurt yourself? It's going to be my second question.
Yeah. So there's two types of there's virtual reality and then there's augmented reality. And so virtual reality is like, supposedly, they've been talking about it since the early 90s, is going into like a whole nother world. And now the buzz term is Metaverse. And Metaverse is the idea of virtual reality mixed in with the internet and social media. So that's why Facebook changed their name. Now they're called Meta. And they're throwing billions of dollars at the Metaverse.
Which was kind of a combination of meta and universe?
Yeah, it was coined by like a science fiction novel in 1992. I'm not familiar with it, but yeah.
That's what it reminds me of, is when I hear Metaverse, I think of a world far, far away or a land far, far away. And virtual reality, like Patrick mentioned, when it really started, coming to fruition, really was this, alternate kind of place you could go. But the augmented reality is where you're doing all kinds of things, whether it be just everyday activities.
Yeah, so augmented reality, the perfect example is Pokemon Go. So so you have the real world, but you have it augmented. So like you're looking through a window on your phone and you'll see Pokemon there sitting on the desk, and it's doing camera tracking and it's placing the object there, and you can interact with it even though it's not real. And a lot of people think that's kind of like the gateway into like a fully virtual reality. But the cool thing about augmented reality is there's apps where you can actually hold up your phone and it'll do translation. So it'll take, like if you're in another country, it'll change the language of signs and menus and everything.
I've heard of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now that's the augmented.
Yeah, that's augmented reality, and so the Metaverse would be like kind of the next level up, where forget the real reality, Ready Player One type. You strap on the headset and the suit, and you can feel everything. And at this point, you're looking at like a $200 or $300 system, and you can get it's pretty immersive. Like you're not tied to anything. So
you can see
there's games where you can see people like crawling around on the floor and stuff.
Whoa! And this one's locked, so it's nice to know that your account's safe.
This is my son's. He gave it to us to show, and we can't get into it.
It's like a whole other world out there, but it is cool how it's 3D. I can definitely see if you've got vertigo or motion sickness, you could get a little crazy on that thing.
Yeah, I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about. We haven't talked about it yet, and it's a whole nother aspect of the internet, is this virtual reality. And there's even people selling virtual land and virtual space in the Metaverse, which is kind of crazy with cryptocurrencies and tokens.
Doesn't surprise me.
It's weird. Like you can buy a plot of land in this Metaverse. And I was like, it's not a real place, and it's not
like
real
Farmville,
money.
But virtual reality.
Yeah,
Remember that where you had your little plot and you'd get to do your stuff on it. Well, the contraption looks interesting. You even have little kind of devices that hold your hands into place in case you get a little crazy and wild, which I assume with the VR or Metaverse world that happens frequently.
Yeah, and they even have hand tracking on this one. So there's some games that you just use your hands. You don't even have to have anything in your hands. And the idea is eventually that as the technology gets better, this will be more seamless. They could just end up being like regular glasses, especially the augmented reality. Google tried it a few years back.
Oh yeah, the Google glasses.
Yeah, They didn't catch on because they had cameras in them and people freaked out. They're like, I don't want you recording me.
Well, just more advancements in technology. And so with virtual reality or metaverse, what do you need to get set up? Obviously, a good internet connection.
Yeah, in fact, they require you to have a Facebook account with this. Although supposedly they're going to remove that in the future. So you have to have internet. You have to have Wi-Fi.
To have Facebook.
Yeah, you have to have Facebook. For this particular, there's other setups that you can get that tie into a computer or PlayStation VR. And
I was going to ask now, do the virtual reality consoles or I guess toys I'd call them, do they advance like the PlayStation or the Xbox, where you're looking, the next best one is going to come out and they'll have those like the PS4.
Yeah.
Now we're on like PS5.
Yeah, so they've got a PSVR 2 coming out that's going to be like the next level. And the thing about that is the graphics are so much more realistic. Where this is kind of comparable to a really high-end cell phone. Mm. So it's okay, but you're not going to be fooled into thinking that it's 100% real.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to still have blocky edges on things.
But this new VR2 will fool us.
Yeah, it's getting to that point where some of the visuals in the PS5 and whatever the next generation of these things are going to be, at some point it's going to be indistinguishable from reality, the real-time graphics.
Well, and you talked about, we've had episodes in the past on cryptocurrency too, and if you want to look those up, you can go to county10.com and just search tech tips, and you'll see the cryptocurrency episode that we did, which dives more into that. But you were talking about being able to purchase that virtual plot, and then it's linked to the cryptocurrency world. This is all moving in such a fast-paced way for me personally, but every time you talk about it, it just makes complete sense that that's where it's going. So it'll be interesting to see, because that'll be what's on the kids' Christmas lists, those fake virtual reality plots coming soon to a Christmas list near you. What else on Metaverse?
I don't.
It's a big buzzword.
Yeah, it's a big buzzword, and VR was talked about in the 90s, but there was so much delay in the head movement. They call it latency. So like you move your head and then it moves. It would make people motion sick. So if you tried like earlier versions of VR and you're like pretty nervous about this, you're like, I don't know, I get pretty sick. And then even the first like Oculus that came out and HTC Vive and stuff, they had the same problem. The resolution wasn't high enough. The field of view wasn't wide enough. So it looked like you were looking through a little blurry window. And they've gotten so much better. Now they have dual 4K screens inside of these things.
I mean, just even the lockout screen was nice.
Yeah, yeah. The visual, the delay's gone, and a lot of the barriers. Like I used to get really sick with these, and I can actually use them for a while now. So it's getting better all the time.
What about privacy?
Well, apparently you can't get into them. They're like cell phones. They have passwords on them.
And so how do they work for privacy? Because some folks who are gamers are interested in virtual reality gaming, but maybe have questions on how the privacy differs from your everyday console like the PS or the Xbox.
It's very similar to just like anything else, it's more like a game console. The only thing that's kind of different about it is you can have it show on like an iPad or an iPhone or a computer, mirroring what you're watching, so that if you're playing with friends or whatever, they can see what you're doing. But for the most part, it's kind of more of a singular experience until you connect with people online who also have a unit.
That was my next question. So you can play virtual reality with other people where you actually see them as their virtual reality self?
Yeah, so me and my son were playing, I think it was called Game Room, but it's multi-platform, which means I was playing on the PSVR, and he was playing on this, and we were running around the room in real life together.
That's cool.
But we were also running around, and he was shooting me with bows and arrows, and we were hiding behind trees and things. And
that sounds fun.
It was kind of cool. It was kind of cool.
I think I would be interested, in that, engagement with kids or, siblings or friends, more so than I would with just the basic console and, the basic controllers as well, too. These things are neat, these controllers as well. Do we have any questions? I have so many questions about virtual reality. I could go on and on, I'm sure.
No, not at this time.
Terry, do you have any questions on virtual reality? The VR world?
Oh, goodness. So much.
I know, it's so advanced, too, and it's crazy as well. And like Patrick mentioned, this is kind of a basic model that you see here. And this is the Oculus, and he was talking about the PSVR 2 coming out as well. So some tips there from Patrick on if you're looking at purchasing maybe a simpler unit or, the top of the line. What do you think?
I think if you're getting into it, you might want to invest in something smaller, like even a used Oculus. You could probably get for $150 or something to see if it's something that you're really interested in. And then if you want to go all out, people can build their thousands of dollars gaming machine, have the fanciest setup with all the trackers and motion capture stuff. And
well, the technology itself has been around semi for a while, and simulation of different businesses training folks on simulators and things. But now virtual reality is pretty much everywhere. If I take nephews to the arcade or whatever, you see those VR. A lot of the games now are going to virtual reality.
Yeah, at that Nana's bowling alley up in Du Bois, they've got a Rabbids roller coaster game where you could put on the VR, the same headsets.
Roller coasters. I don't think I could do it, but hey, that'd be good if I wanted to test how I do. Now, currently, it's been so long since I've been on a roller coaster, that miuld be a good idea. If I could hang on the VR roller coaster, maybe I could hang on a real one.
I think that's the only roller coaster I could hang on at all.
Well, there might be a way we get our thrill without having to actually physically
there you go.
Get jerked around too much on an actual roller coaster. So that's probably the case for virtual reality, and I'm sure there's a lot of stories about how it's been used to help people in various ways too.
One of the funniest things is like one of the most popular early games that came out was Office Simulator, and you do mundane things in there. Like you have an office and you have to make coffee and print things out and file them, and
it reminds me of like the old Sims or whatever that was. Yeah, for sure.
But it's it's silly, it's very humorous, but it kind of gives you an idea of what this metaverse would kind of be like. In theory, it's just the next level beyond meeting on Zoom. Everybody put on their VR headsets and they'd go into the virtual office, and there would be this virtual space that everybody'd meet up in.
I'm sure that's a thing in bigger cities. I'm sure for corporations that has to be a thing when they have folks working remotely, maybe to make them get that feel.
That's what Zuckerberg's betting on, but we'll see. I don't know if everybody could handle wearing these all day long.
Right.
I think there'll be versions of it that'll be easier, like large
the glasses.
Yeah, like glasses or displays where we got screens that are getting so big that they just like the entire wall's a display. Where it won't be as obtrusive.
Yeah. And you're seeing amusement parks too moving to more VR style for some of their rides or attractions too.
The Mandalorian TV show is actually done virtually, the production, a lot of it. Yeah, so they have these huge LED, I can't remember what they call it, but it's basically a dome with screens, and they're rendering out the background in real time, so they can walk on there and move the camera around, and the background moves and updates, and it's all done with the Unreal Engine, which is done for video games. It's just they're using really high-end computers,
right? But
they're able to do a lot without green screen, and it just looks more real. It doesn't have like a little halo or anything.
It's one of my favorite new TV shows. So the graphics are great. So virtual reality, is that something that you're interested in? Well, you could comment a question right now here on this Facebook video. You'll also find this video up online at county10.com. So if you've got maybe a kid in the family or somebody who's interested in VR, they may want to watch this and just kind of check out a little bit of this. Hear from Patrick, who utilizes this. We talked about him and his son both use virtual reality devices. This is the Oculus, and so he's a great one to ask questions to.
I did get a question. I think you've answered it a little bit, but I don't know if there's like how much farther you can go into it. But they want to know, what all things can you do in a metaverse?
So I think it's interesting. Like Mark Zuckerberg is trying to say like there's only one metaverse and it's Facebook's metaverse. But really it's a generic term. It could be a really good example is Fortnite. Fortnite's very popular, and it's an online, essentially a metaverse, where you log in and you play with other people online. The only difference is that one's not in VR right now. But there are other games that are. My son could tell you which because he plays a bunch of them. Rec Room, that's the one we were playing, where it's interactive and you have like lobbies and you can go and play all these different games and people can program their own games.
Oh, that's cool.
And it works between various systems. So a person on a PC could be playing with somebody with Oculus VR and somebody on PlayStation VR, and you don't have to all be tied into the same ecosystem. And that's probably a better example of like a real metaverse where it's not, kind of like tied to one thing as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the options, it sounds like, there's a lot of options with the metaverse for who asked that question. What about education? Do you see or hear any buzz about virtual reality for educational purposes? I could see this being useful in a lot of different instances.
I know a lot of engineers will do design work and 3D modeling, so instead of printing it out, they'll just put on their, the 3D headset and they can go around, they can look at it, they can build a car and go around and look inside the car. And you can do that right now, actually. You can, a lot of the newer cars that are coming out, they have both augmented and VR versions where on your phone you can just go to your driveway and you can see your brand new car and you can walk around and see what it would look like inside your garage, how it would fit.
It's too fancy for
And the realtors are starting to do it too. They'll do the walk-arounds.
Yeah.
Where you can go walk around inside the house and do a virtual visit of the house.
Yeah, I was going to say that's another question I had too. Is it seems like it's already picking up in the real estate.
Yeah, and the next
world.
step on the real estate was like, well, you can also do the VR version. You can literally, put on the headset and walk around and look around and
in real time.
Yeah, in real time.
Crazy.
That's really cool.
I know, it is really cool. I can't wrap my head around it. Literally, I can't wrap my head. It's too big.
I played the last version of one of the last versions of Resident Evil on the PS4, and I had to stop because it was scary. I mean, it's always scary.
Yeah.
It's like really scary in VR.
Well, in VR, yeah, definitely.
Things jumping out at you like they're right there.
Yeah. Well, as we watch the metaverse change, because like Patrick was talking about, Facebook is now kind of considered meta, but really metaverse is just kind of a word and term that's used for this virtual reality world that really is your creation.
Yeah, we'll see. Everybody's trying to own the metaverse. We'll see who comes out on top.
What's your bet?
Probably not Facebook.
As we're broadcasting live.
Yeah. Sorry, Facebook.
Well, if you know anybody interested in virtual reality, make sure that you send them over this video and get them in the know. All right, that does it for us, I think. Or do we have more questions?
How about, do we have any Wind River internet updates?
Yeah, a little bit. The TV service that we talked about a few shows ago, it's going really good. We've got more devices now in stock, so if people want to get set up with an Amazon device that they can talk to, or they've got these cool little Amigo boxes that can be pre-programmed so that when you turn it on, they just turn on like a normal cable box. And we found out that you can do these really cool things where you can log into the apps for all the local channels, so like ABC, NBC, Showtime, and you can watch like every episode of a season of a show for like everything, and you can do that even on the lowest package that's under $50 a month. So it's kind of cool.
Binge watching at its finest. I love it. That's called Epic TV. If you'd like to contact Wind River Internet, you can do so and find out more about Epic TV, and you can also find that at county10.com by searching Tech Tips, or right here on Facebook. Just go back a few videos and you'll find it there. So anything else on virtual reality, the metaverse, the
I got another
world?
question.
Oh, good.
I did. So the same person asks, where do you actually access all of the different items? Do you buy a game, download, or exactly how?
There's a lot of different ways. It depends on how you're playing in the VR. Usually they have app stores. So there's a PlayStation store in the PlayStation. There's Steam on the computer is where most people get their games. And Facebook has I guess it's Meta now. They have a Meta store where you can buy or get free games even.
And you can probably buy like at Best Buy or any electronic stores like that. You can get like the headset and all of that contraption?
Yeah, Walmart, Best Buy, GameStop. Support the local GameStop.
There you go.
And again, this one was the Oculus, and Patrick had mentioned the PSVR 2, which is the upcoming newest model.
And you can actually get a really good deal on the previous one, which can work on a PS5. They'll send you a free adapter because it has a different port. But people sell those used pretty cheap if you want to get into VR.
But the question too, our answer is as well, you don't necessarily need a gaming console to play virtual reality. You don't need a PS whatever.
Yeah, and I think the idea of, wearing the physical headset to be in the metaverse, it's not necessary. So you can still, just look at a computer and drag the mouse around and go through it and play it more like a video game. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be 100% immersed in it. So that's the future I see in the more immediate.
Yeah, more of that taking off.
Yeah.
Great. All right, I'm Charene Herrera, Patrick with Wind River Internet. This has been the latest episode of Tech Tips. We'll catch you back next month. Somebody answered and they didn't know.
Somebody said, "Great show, thanks."
Oh, cool.
We've never